I'm Gerald Bentley. This is Wrestling with Sales. Today, we are going to step into the financing ring. How do you win the approval? How do you get the 1, 2, 3 count and get that deal booked? It's a big question, and it's a question that's going to be coming up more and more often this year as we're dealing with the Fed increasing the interest rates. We're dealing with book values dropping on cars, and it's all combining with no new car inventory. Got Jeremy Moorhead here today from CPS, Consumer Portfolio Services. Jeremy, thanks for joining us here on Wrestling with Sales.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, hey, I really wanted to reach out to you because I think CPS is one of the lenders that really feels like, we're talking about wrestling, talking, hey, throwback, old school. CPS still feels like kind of an old school lender where you aren't just computer based. It's not just you fire it over and whatever the computer says, that's your approval. You can actually call the reps. I mean, you and I work together on hundreds of deals at different dealerships that I was at when I was a GSM at Second Chance Dealers. And your reps still do that. Is that something that's a focus of CPS? Do they look to reach out and really work with the dealers?
Yeah, it actually is one of the major things that separates a CPS from other reps is we like to say that we're purveyors of communication and we're constantly training and coaching our dealers, because at CPS we do not have first call, best call that goes out, because we do want flexibility within the program, so the dealers have a chance to move numbers around and maximize their deals through our ASAP portal, which is amazing. It's relatively new. We're still making adjustments to it constantly, but then the flexibility aspect of CPS, when the dealer calls after they've used the portal to speak to a buyer, you can still get help with exceptions. We average 2 to 5 exceptions on each deal. And then you can still ask for a little bit of payment bump or rate and fee help, which is huge. Because when we talk about flexibility, it's not a half a point and $200. It's quite a few points, and we're still talking thousands of dollars here to help the dealer.
And here, just to get a couple of commonly held misconceptions out of the way.
Sure.
Every CPS deal doesn't have a $2,000 fee. You're not, and don't get this wrong. There's a role and there's a spot for Credit Acceptance Corp and American Credit Acceptance, but you're not them.
Correct. 100% correct. Yeah. We have several different tiers. We still consider ourselves a broad spectrum lender, from a thin file 720 all the way down to our last chance pass-through program that we're a part of. So yeah, our fees are $0 to on up. It just kind of depends. And again, I always say, use the magic words when you contact a buyer. Give us that rate and fee that we have to get to help you maximize your deal.
And something else that's really come in the last couple months, and I think is going to continue for dealerships really this year. This year, I think, is going to be not back to normal. It's still not pre-COVID, but you're getting closer. There's been a confluence of events that have made used cars a little bit harder to sell, right? There's a huge lack of them because, heck, the average car now is 12 and a half years old. So people are holding on to what would have been those $18,000 to $24,000 cars with 50,000 miles. But the cars dealerships have that they paid a lot to get, they all just took a huge hit in value because NADA books got just bludgeoned over the end of the year to a point where they don't line up with reality. NADA average trade may be 5,000 less than the car selling for at the auction today. The good thing that I don't think people realize with CPS is, unlike the vast majority of lenders, you actually use all the trade books, right? Not just NADA clean trade.
That's correct. That's one of our go-to talking points. We call it triple play. So we will take all 3 books, and it kind of depends on where you are in the country. The West Coast can see Kelley Blue Book automatically. A lot of people in Central, they can't see Kelley Blue Book unless they're using vAuto. They call vAuto and ask for car power. It just kind of depends on what it is. But CPS, if you contact CPS, you contact your rep, we can pull the best book for you and help you get set up on different platforms that might be available to show you that. But that is one of the biggest things, is you will have tremendous swings in the book value. Let's just say
Yeah.
trucks, for example, you can have anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 difference in the value of that truck still today. That you can move the sales price and drop your LTV and maximize that deal again. So it's huge, and I think we're one of the few. I think there might be one more bank that uses it, but otherwise it's
Mhm.
two or one, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, here, this should be an extremely popular car right now at dealerships. How about a 2019 Volkswagen Atlas? A three-row all-wheel drive SUV,
Mm-hmm.
suggested retail, black book, 35.9, but NADA clean trade book was like 26,000.
Yeah.
So you can't get there
Mm-hmm.
without a significant amount of money down.
Right.
So that's a car that you almost have to go to a lender that's going to look at black book, because otherwise
Yeah.
you're selling the car for almost a net loss, or you're telling somebody to leave that agreed to the payment,
Yeah.
happy to do it,
Happy to
but they
do
don't
it.
have 4,000 down.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. Yeah, that's why knowing all the different programs, knowing the niches, if you will, and literally knowing who to call and communicate with to help you learn those things, or just ask the general question too, is very important. And that's why our reps, we consider them relationship managers as well, because we want them to
Mhm.
know as much as we can and help educate you guys, and then obviously call our buyers for more help. It's a, we call it, a little team triangles is what we call it.
Yeah. And it's, it is so important. And there is here, make another wrestling analogy. There's a tag team
Mhm.
aspect to it, right? Because
Absolutely.
at a lot of dealerships that I talk to, you find out, hey, why aren't you guys doing these deals? I mean, 580 credit with good job time with some equity,
Mhm.
that's an approval, stone
Absolutely.
cold approval, done.
Mhm.
But the dealerships are turning it away because when you talk a little bit and you get into it and spend some time, talk to some of the guys submitting the deals, guys or ladies submitting the deals, one of the first things you hear from the finance managers is, "Oh, yeah, yeah, we can't use them. They don't fund deals,
Mhm.
so we don't use them."
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, but then start taking a look at the deals that aren't getting funded,
Mhm.
and you take a look and realize, well, hey, you don't have their previous job time down on the app. Um, this person has an hourly job, but you put down that they make $2,400 a month.
Mhm.
They don't. They're not paid a salary. It's not going to be an even 2,400.
Right.
You realize that's wrong, right?
Mhm.
And then the response you generally get back is, that's what the customer said."
Yeah.
Okay, it's wrong.
Mhm.
And they were freaking out because the bank asked for proof of income.
Right.
Well, what I've realized for the most part is, if it's a company that has ADP or Paychecks or Paycor payroll, you guys already know what the customer makes. The reason you're asking for verification is because the number was wrong on the app.
Right.
And the dealership's turning the person away because they don't have the paycheck,
Mhm.
blaming the bank. But it's like the Taylor Swift song. It's me.
Mhm.
Me. I'm the problem. It's me.
Right.
If they would have just filled the app out right, they would have had a deal.
Right.
So what I wanted to ask you is, what are the biggest things that you see that make deals get hung up, or
Yeah.
turned away, where this dealership just goes, "Oh, forget it. It's not worth it."
Right. So we are a verification lender. So whatever's on that credit app, I always ask the dealership, hey, just slow down a little bit, make sure you review that, do your customer interview, and ask them a few questions to help speed things up once the deal does come in. And I actually have a list of top 5 things that I asked one of my top funders what's going
Sure.
on right now. And number one thing is job stability is not verified, and that causes a rewrite or at 100% LTV or a return altogether.
Mhm.
Just like you were saying, income does not verify. We do pull twin on all deals, but sometimes we don't get a hit, or like you said, it doesn't match what comes in, and then again that causes a rewrite or even longer depending upon on the deal. Garnishments, sometimes when we're reviewing POI, we just go over and look at year to date and a couple dates, and okay, that's good, but we're not looking for garnishments or child support or
Uh-huh.
anything taken out. And then structure no longer is in line due to When we ask the customers if this vehicle has a lot of add-ons, we'll ask them, hey, does it have this and this? And sometimes it doesn't have it on there, or the
Uh-huh.
customer just doesn't know that it's on there. So then we have to stop and make sure that that is the correct value for the vehicle. And then at the very end, a lot of times, just because we have a deal structure approved, we haven't been able to close the customer. And sometimes it's signed different than it's approved, and they
Hmm.
send it in. And so obviously that doesn't match the approval. So then we're running into an issue. But all of those things can easily be taken care of up front, or again, even with a phone call to CPS to work through that with the buyer.
Yeah, so not a bad idea if you're trying to, because yeah, this is one that across lenders, just talking to dealerships, one that ends up being a recurring problem, and honestly should never be one.
Right.
A lot of times, if you have a customer and they are just so excited, so happy to get approved,
Yeah.
they'll say yes. They'll say yes.
Hmm.
So you can have an overzealous finance manager. The approval is a max advance, meaning you can't go higher than that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
they'll come out excited, going, "Yeah, I got them. They got a $5,000 warranty." Yeah. Well,
Hmm.
no, you're
No.
maxed at 2,000 back end. No, you can't. It won't happen. But
Hmm.
you can generally, there is usually plenty of back end space, especially until you get down to the real low tiers,
Hmm.
because you guys don't want the customer buying a car without a warranty.
Right. We want them to be protected as much as possible. And actually, when you add back end, your gap or your service contract, which are the dealer's products, not our products, so it's the dealership's profit. That
Hmm.
actually helps lower your fee. We discount the fee on that, and then we're actually paying reserve on all deals now. We no longer have flat, so that's another positive to
Okay.
maximize your deal.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one thing you can clear up super easy. Call the funder, call the buyer up while
Hmm.
you're getting ready to bring the customer in, because there's not a huge presentation. If the person's going to say yes to whatever you put out there, make sure that what you're putting out there works. And then that way
Right.
you probably clean up about 20% of the funding issues right there.
Oh, absolutely. And again, sometimes you can't close everybody on everything, but you can literally just go right back in the portal and change it and update your approval. If the fee
Hmm.
changed, you just call the buyer and say, "Hey, we weren't able to close them on this. Can I go back to the original fee that we had?" We are a relationship bank, and we will help you with those things.
Yeah. Now, you said the job verification, that's a big part of it too.
That is actually CPS has been working. Oh my gosh, in the last year, with some to become or still, I guess, improve our fintech. Fintech's the buzzword, but we've
Hmm.
al- we've always been working towards that. Our management, our ownership, they are doing things behind the scenes this last year to make CPS bigger and better and faster and more improved. And that's one of those things is adding some AI to CPS. So part of that, to answer your question, is getting it's being tested, but we're going to be able to help with verifying income up front, waiving more POI than we already are
Okay.
right now, just the twin hit. But that's very important and very exciting for us to help. And obviously, less steps means a better chance of a deal coming towards us.
Sure. And hey, I want to get into the cars too, because I think that's a big part of it. Because sometimes the car that you think is the best one to finance really may well be the worst ones.
Mhm.
And dealerships right now are trying desperately to get cars on their lots. And we work with Montway Auto Transport because they help get the cars to the dealerships. And also, you can get the car and sell it to a customer out of your area. I've been able to sell cars to customers in 48 states and Canada. So you can definitely use auto shipping services. And Montway wants to ask auto dealers, hey, do you know where your vehicles are and when they'll arrive? I know the inventory management challenges dealers face. So I'm certain right now the answer is a resounding no. There's just not enough cars. But Montway Auto Transport can change your answer to a confident yes with the Montway Automation Portal, better known as MAP. MAP offers a smarter way to move and manage orders while giving you end to end visibility of all inbound and outbound units. You can upload your VINs, get the pricing, dispatch the orders, and track every unit right on the dashboard. Leveraging MAP can save you time and money and get vehicles to your lots quicker to sell. With MAP, you can book, track, and manage your inventory from one revolutionary platform. You can see MAP in action right now at www.montway.com/WS. Go ahead and write it down, www.montway.com/WS, and put your dealership on the map. And then, of course, it's right there below us, too, because that's going to be an issue. You're going to have to buy more cars because if your new car inventory is down, you're going to have to buy some cars because it's pretty hard to sell 100 used cars when you got 50 on the ground. It doesn't work.
Right. Yes.
So what would you say are what's kind of the wheelhouse car price range, mileage range that is, just the easiest to finance?
Yeah, so we have a list of our hot cars or hot vehicles, and obviously it's not going to be your luxury imports, but it's trucks, it's
Hmm.
SUVs, and the 4-cylinder sedans. And again, those usually the book outs on those things can range from $500 to $3,000 difference. And again, your SUVs and trucks are more
Yeah,
more than that on your value. So I would say it wouldn't be just one specific thing, but it is going to be trucks, SUVs, and your cars for sure.
because what you'll see a lot is, especially at dealerships that aren't familiar with doing second chance financing or subprime,
Mhm.
their knee-jerk reaction is to go to the lowest price car in the lot.
Yeah.
Maybe it's let's say a 2014 Chevy Traverse with 145,000 miles that they're trying to sell for 14.9.
Hmm.
Well, the reality is that may be the absolute worst car to show somebody because you're trying to sell it for 140% a book. The miles are going to kick the term down, so the payment's going to be sky high, and
Yeah.
you're going to need a bunch of money down because you're selling it for so much more than book.
Hmm.
Whereas the best car may well be a program car that you get from Enterprise or Hertz.
Yeah.
That's a 2021 with 65,000 miles. Even though it's $10,000 more, the payment may well end up being lower.
Exactly. It depends on what tier it is. We go all the way up to 78 months now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, we go 78 months. Our top 4 tiers will be 75 months. But that is one of the things that makes us a little bit different too, is being able to go into our portal, and you don't have to keep resubmitting your deal again and again when you're changing your units. You can go into the portal, go into the inventory tab, and start
Just
looking at all
change the
the
car.
different vehicles and just change the car and then change your price and hit recalculate, and it'll tell you if you're still approved or not. It's not running another submission. It's
Hmm.
just showing you does this structure work, and you can maximize your payment that way as well. Change your book, move things, and you can do that as many times as you want, and you don't need a login. It's all right there once you do get your first approval. But yeah, it kind of just depends on the unit. It depends on we kind of like we don't base it so much on the year, but on the miles more. When
Okay.
our computer's actually running the approval, so you can have something that's higher mileage, but as long as it's a better year, a newer year, you can go from 24, 36 to maybe 54 and make that payment work
Hmm.
too. And we
Yeah.
can always make a phone call and see, hey, I need a little mileage overage exception, and boom. Because like I said, we have 2 to 5 exceptions on every deal. It's not just one. It's quite a few.
Hmm. Are you noticing an uptick in applications? Because here, one other thing that dealerships are going to have to be wrestling with all year. It's just reality.
Right.
Um, the 6-7% used car APRs, those are gone.
Yeah.
A tier one rate now with some banks on a used car is up in the eights. So you're getting more of that interest rate pushback now than you were in the last 5 years.
Absolutely. It's gone from, I mean, 2 years ago, year and a half ago, our lowest rate, like almost everybody, especially being a broad spectrum lender, was 3.9. Now our
Hmm.
lowest rate is 14 and a half. I mean, it's just a just crazy swing of
Yeah.
moving that interest rate up. So that's why it's very important to know all the tools that you have available. We still are a broad spectrum lender, but we just can't go down that far due to, cost of funds, and every bank is
Yeah.
in the same position, quite frankly. But kind of to answer your question, when you all the banks still have the interest rate problem, but again, the apps are still there, right? The apps
Hmm.
really are still there. The approval percentage is still there. It's just finding a payment that can actually help these customers right now. That is the biggest
Yeah.
thing.
Are you noticing more dealers are calling up and engaging in conversation, trying to make a deal work as opposed to,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, that first call, best call with even just another bank is really gone. There, your dealers that are actually trying to maximize as much as they can versus just checking the best green check mark and going.
Hmm.
That's what, again, where our program comes into play. That relationship, that communication is you can really flip some deals around and move that net check 5 to 10 grand just by using all the CPS tools that we have available.
Yeah. And again, we're talking with Jeremy Moorhead. He's the regional manager for Consumer Portfolio Services, CPS, covering Kansas, Missouri,
Yeah,
Arizona,
yeah,
and
Iowa and
what other
Arizona.
states?
Yeah, we've got about 9 people on the team that I'm in charge of. Yes, sir.
Okay. And that, hey, this is coming up too occasionally, and just while I have you on, just see what the options are here. What about somebody who doesn't have the social security card yet? Are you able to do anything with an ITN number?
Absolutely. So again, with our broad spectrum lending, it could be a 720 score down to a sub 500 score, but we have I-10 programs. We have
Hmm.
1099 self-employed programs, first time buyer programs, and something we added last year was actually a gig drivers. So
Okay.
yeah, Uber driver or DoorDash or something like that for as long as they've been
Yeah.
there for a year. Yeah, so we have different programs as well for that. Absolutely.
And then, just something that I think is definitely something that dealerships should invest a few minutes in, especially since most dealerships pay with ADP or Paychex or Paycor. I think it would be a really, really good use of time to dig in and really learn your paycheck app backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
Because when customers say, "Oh, I don't get a check stub, I don't have one," they they do. If they work for a real company, they do. It's federal
Mhm.
law.
Yeah.
So the more that you know how to use your own paycheck app, that 5 minutes of time you spend studying it, you may well make 3, 4 deals for yourself over the course of the year just from knowing how to pull paychecks up and how to read them.
Yeah, it's amazing how on our portal you can, have an old school POI calculator. Um, Again, with this new fintech and AI stuff, we're be able to get digital bank statements,
Hmm.
and especially on 1099 people, we can look at those things up front. And then when this new AI actually comes in, we'll be able to do that with almost all the programs to see if we can get a hit on it as soon as possible in the upfront process. But um, to take another step to your question is in funding. I mean,
Hmm.
CPS has a list of 100 different types of fake POI that we have seen, and it's just amazing. Like you say, well, it does say ADP on here, but it's not aligned, or the social security number is missing, or
Yeah.
it's just the creative ways people have of faking their POI is pretty amazing. But yeah, we have lots of tools, and at the very least, when you are reviewing that, we don't review quote unquote POI up front, but if you literally call your buyer and say, hey, I have this in front of me, what are you getting on Twin or you're not getting on Twin, and you literally just read it
Hmm.
off to them. That's what we will use for their POI, and then verify
Yeah.
that in funding.
Well, the easiest way to check if somebody gives you a hand printed or a printout paycheck, pick one of the columns, add it across,
Yep.
add it down. If those numbers don't equal, it's not
Yeah.
real
It's not real.
because
Yeah.
trust me, ADP doesn't make math mistakes on the check. There may
No,
be
they
a
don't.
mistake getting your check cut, maybe the hours are wrong or something,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
whatever's on there, it's going to be consistent with itself. They're not going to make a mistake in the body of the check.
Yeah. We had one
That's not happening.
yesterday. The W-2 was for 2023, so we kind of knew that one wasn't.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's not good either.
No, no.
That doesn't work. And
Yeah.
you already kind of mentioned it. The old term used to be power booking, where the dealerships, the unscrupulous dealerships, right, the rule breaking dealerships,
Hmm.
to use the lucha libre term, the rudos,
Yeah.
they would just check every box. So you had a Civic with a rear DVD player and a tow hitch. Well,
Hmm.
there's
Yeah.
not a Civic on the road with
Yeah.
a rear DVD and a tow hitch. Um, it's a $2,500 ad now on NADA if you have a Tacoma with the snowplow package.
Oh wow.
Um, a Tacoma with the snowplow package, you may be able to do it, but if it's 8 inches of snow, you're going to do it once. So they're not out there either.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I'm sure you see some dealerships that just go, oh, it's got a hitch. Okay, click, $2,500 add-on. So
Hmm.
that's something that would come back, I'm sure, because
Yeah.
does not have snowplow package.
Right. And most of the time, it usually is. It's not that it's the dealer power booking or something like that, because most of the time your your softwares are going to have the correct add-ons for the car. It's a lot of times
Yeah.
the dealer doesn't know that they should have that conversation with the customer of reviewing different add-ons that may or may not be on the car, because we will ask them, if it starts to have several different add-ons or something looks a little off, we'll say, hey, does this have this on the vehicle? And sometimes the customer will say no when it actually really does, and then that's when we
Hmm.
got to call a little timeout and reassess and make sure that the vehicle's booked out correctly, and then we can start over again.
Well, and like you said, with V Auto, with VinQ, they
Mhm.
have access now to the original factory build sheets. So you go
Yeah,
to the description and you pull the build sheet, it is populating what's on the car.
yeah, yeah.
And aftermarket, secondary ads, they don't book
Right,
anyway. So yeah,
right.
more often than not, what's already in there is going to be right. And
Hmm.
I'm sure there's dealerships that don't use those programs yet, but yeah,
Correct.
so that's probably kind of going away. And I know Santander a few years ago, they contracted a firm, one of the window sticker firms, maybe some like a Velocity Automotive, and
Hmm.
they go through and audit every deal you send. And then at the end of the year, Santander dealers get a bill for
Oh,
whatever the difference is from what they clicked the car had to
oh
what it
boy.
really has. And in
Ouch.
some cases, it can be a
I,
pretty
I'd
big
say
bill you
so.
owe.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Wow.
all those Tacomas with snowplow modes, they're coming back
That's a
home,
big bill.
you know? Well, hey,
Wow.
Jeremy, we're kind of winding down. I want to go to the
All right.
championship round here. We got the dealership
Yes.
rescue belt for you.
Love it.
Now, we talked about wrestling with sales. Said back in Tennessee, you used to go to the old Tennessee professional wrestling.
Yeah, I think it was East Tennessee Mountain Wrestling, I think, and we saw
Okay.
a couple of guys come through there, and I think the most popular one was the Headbangers that made it to the WWF tag
Yeah.
team. They came through there, and me and a bunch of college buddies would go to the shows, and they're like, "Hey, when are you guys coming back? We like working with you," because we were, getting into it and helping them sell it,
Yeah.
and yeah, so it was very interesting to watch that and watch those guys progress.
Sure. And they have championship wrestling for Memphis as part
Mm,
of the United Wrestling Network, so they're still active there.
wow.
What about yourself? Who's your favorite pro wrestler of all time?
Yeah, all time, that's tough because I think I have so many that are in my memory. But obviously, everybody loves Ric Flair from what he
Hmm.
does to his shtick to his interviews that are still relevant today. The Rock. I had to show the missus, some jabroni tapes when
Oh, sure. After Travis
you know,
Kelsey dropped,
yeah,
you gotta admire Travis Kelsey got a Stone Cold Steve Austin reference in,
yep,
a Ric Flair reference, and The Rock.
and The
Know your
Rock.
role, shut your mouth, you
That's what
jabroni.
you got.
All into
Yeah.
his championship rally speech.
Absolutely. I
Yeah,
mean, I had the Hulkamania T-shirt. I used to watch the cartoons as a kid when WWF had the cartoons. Just a lot of things. And as I got older and in college, we actually had watch parties for these things.
hmm,
Monday night Raw and the NWO and all that good stuff. And so I guess some of the guys I really liked were the entrances, and the guys that were like maybe Ravishing Rick Rude, because he had the same entrance every
yeah,
time. And it was just hilarious to have him say that about whatever town he was in, and
hmm,
shut your mouth while I show the ladies what a real man looks like. And it's just
yeah,
fun and entertaining, and they do a great job. But yeah, I think there's too many for me to list, honestly. Just
yeah.
yeah,
Well, and
lots of
Travis
memories.
Kelsey even got the John
Well,
Cena
you can't see
"You
me.
don't see me"
Yeah,
move in during the Super Bowl, so you can tell
yeah,
he's a big time fan,
yeah.
probably almost as much as Greg Kittle with the Niners with Penta El Zero Miro, who I got behind me there. Got his mask
Nice.
behind me.
Well, who's your favorite?
Mine, I would say Ric Flair,
Mm-hmm.
Sting,
Oh,
and
Stinger.
then
I forgot about the
really
Stinger.
currently, because I really in the spirit of the show, wrestling with sales, betting on yourself, going out and taking a chance,
Mm-hmm.
the American Nightmare, Cody
Oh,
Rhodes,
yeah.
because he was from wrestling royalty He was already a champion in the WWE, could have stayed there forever, had a great career.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, he left, and his wife, Brandy, was a ring announcer for the WWE, a great job. They both left and they went to the independent circuit. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when he became the American Nightmare and won championships literally everywhere. And this guy who was born into pro wrestling
Right.
became the superstar of independent wrestling, and then started his own, helped start his own company,
Mm-hmm.
basically bringing wrestling back to TNT with him, Tony Khan, and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
And then just came back to the WWE. He's going to wrestle in the main event of WrestleMania and try to win the title his dad never could get. So
Right.
it's,
Yeah.
it's a great example. I mean, somebody who really stepped it up and started fighting for himself.
Right.
Terrific
That's
story.
amazing. It's a great story. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, hey, Jeremy, thanks a lot for stepping in the ring here.
No
Hopefully,
problem.
some viewers on LinkedIn watching this live enjoyed it. Of course, it's going to go up on the Wrestling with Sales channel on YouTube. Just a couple of mentions going into the weekend since we're on live. Saturday in Kansas City, our friends at Central States Wrestling are getting back at it. They got a new venue at the Lenexa Armory. Their show, When the Levee Breaks, it's coming up this Saturday at the Lenexa Armory. So you can definitely check them out. You can go to centralstateswrestling.com, find out a little bit about more that show, what it's going to have to offer. Should be a fun show. And you can also go to our YouTube channel and watch an interview with Michael Strider, one of the owners of Central States Wrestling, talking about the event. And then I had the slides out of order. In Las Vegas this weekend, Impact Wrestling having their big pay-per-view, No Surrender, at the Sam's Town Casino. And it is also being supported by a sports cards, toys, and collectibles show with Power Play Sports. They're going to have almost the entire Impact Wrestling roster in there for meet and greets and autographs, and some legends signing autographs, including Rikishi
Mm-hmm.
from the WWE, the Usos' dad, and Roman Reigns and The Rock's uncle. So really neat opportunity if you're in the Las Vegas area this weekend. And of course, Jeremy, I want to thank you for stepping in, letting us know a little bit more about CPS and some of the things you can do to get deals approved. How would dealers find out about CPS if they want to find out a bit more and maybe sign up if they're not on the program?
Well, we're available on Dealer Track, Route One, and Dealer Center. And then obviously they can go to our website and send in a submission, and we'll get back to them as soon as we can. Usually that day, for the most part, or within 48 hours. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Had a great time.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot. And thanks for joining Wrestling with Sales, powered by Montway Auto Transport. See you next week.